Good morning, everyone. Welcome to FPC Radio Live. It's Tuesday, November 29th, 2022. Week 12 is in the books. The Steelers handled Jeff Saturday and the Colts yesterday to close out the week. But, John, I'm still stuck in Sunday, though. My mind's still set on Sunday because, we talked about it to some extent yesterday, but we're going to talk about it a little bit more. But the Buccaneers coaching staff, and this is something you want to go back and check the record, the official record, all of our minutes here on FPC Radio Live. It's something I've been complaining about really since September. And if you want to go back to last year, the lack of play action was certainly a topic of discussion, and we talked about that more because just on Monday, because the same issues exist, but it seems very apparent now that there's no Bruce Arians to supersede whatever offensive struggles that they had. And I think that's what we saw last year. But John, going back to kind of the sequence of events that we saw at the end of the regulation against the Browns for the Buccaneers was the lack of timeouts and everything like that. And why didn't you call a timeout, this, that, and the other? Well, we got an explanation for that, John. And before I let you say a word here, I'm going to play that explanation from Todd Bowles because it's kept me up at night. It really has. It's got me, again, questioning how he was qualified to take over this position, and got me worried that this is obviously going to be a terrible, terrible situation for the Bucs moving forward. So. Oh, hopefully if I can play this. There we go.
To preserve something. You look back and it's hindsight now, but that 26-yard catch.
All right, you know what? Sorry, that's actually not quite working, John. You couldn't hear that, could you?
No.
Okay, all right.
No.
I got a solution. This is what I do, being on live and on the fly. I got solutions to this. So I'm going to find the clip and I'm going to play it in a better situation that should hopefully let us all hear, because I want you to hear this, John. I want you to react to this. I know you said you didn't actually hear it prior to us getting on the air, so I figured this is the best way to do it. So, okay, all right, I think I got it.
There wasn't a timeout called yet. You had 3 of them. Why didn't you call a timeout there or time on the field to preserve some time? You look back, and I know it's hindsight now, but that 26-yard catch by Julio Jones, you had 8 seconds. You could have had 25 seconds with 2 more timeouts there.
Or it could have been an interception as well. We said if we didn't get yards on the first down on the first play, we wouldn't call a timeout. We'd probably let the clock run. If he saw something, he could throw it. But we didn't get any yards on the first play. We got 1 or 2 yards with Rashad, and we were backed up. So if we had threw a pick and the ball would have went the other way and they'd kicked the win field goal, we felt better going into overtime. So I didn't do it.
All right. John, he's talking about, throwing an interception with a quarterback that has thrown just 2 on 470 pass attempts this season. He hasn't thrown a single red zone interception his entire time with the Buccaneers. And to my astonishment, he had never in a tie game in the final minutes of the fourth quarter ever thrown an interception to lose the game. So what in God's green earth is Todd Bowles looking at, studying, preparing with, and coming up with this explanation? Because it's asinine. I mean, it's so absurd, and it just shows just an absolute utter fear of coaching on his behalf, and it's hurting the Buccaneers.
It's not just asinine; it's ASA 10, ASA 11, ASA 12. I'll stop at 12. That's Brady's number. But the thing is, maybe Todd Bowles is one of those guys that says, well, he's never done this before, so he's due to throw a pick in this situation, which, of course, is ASA 9, ASA 10, ASA 11, ASA 12. You've got the greatest quarterback in the history of the sport, the most clutch quarterback that I've ever seen. And all you need is a field goal, and you have time and times out with him at the controls. You go for it. You don't want to get to overtime. What if you lose the toss and the other team goes down and scores a touchdown? You never give Brady an opportunity to score in overtime. As it turned out, the Buccaneers did have 2 possessions in overtime, didn't do much with it. But nonetheless, you could have wrapped that thing up in overtime with a field goal, right? In regulation with a field goal. Why would you go to overtime with 2 timeouts in your pocket. You didn't even use them on defense, which could have been a spot to do it there, to maybe give your defense a chance to breathe and maybe get yourself set up defensively, and knowing that it still wasn't going to be enough time that Cleveland could stop the clock. I mean, it makes no sense. And again, I know Bruce Arians caught a lot of heat the last 2 years coaching Tampa Bay, but look, in his first year, they go to the Super Bowl and win. The second year, they tie Green Bay for the best record and lose a heartbreaker in the divisional round to the Rams. And now it's all kind of falling apart. Maybe Bruce Arians is a heck of a lot better coach than people are giving him credit for. And Todd Bowles is just in over his head.
Yeah.
This is horrible game management. I mean, sitting at home in a daze, you could just see this and say, why aren't they using a timeout?
Yeah, it's again, it's absurd. It's ridiculous. And look, the worst part about it is all you have to do is look back less than a month ago.
Mm-hmm.
And the Buccaneers marching down the field, no timeouts, with under a minute to go to win the game. And it's like the explanation of, oh, we didn't get yards on the first play. That's silly. Again, it's absurd because, again, they're either playing scared or they just made up an answer because they don't have an answer to to whatever it is they came up with that decision. It was just it's driving me absolutely nuts having to listen to this because it tells me there's no hope for this team. There's every situation. This team there's too much talent on this team to underperform as much as they have. And again, I think there obviously, not everything has been perfect execution. I think there's been other obviously issues throughout, the team, injuries, but none of that, all that pales in comparison to the horrible situation the coaching staff puts this team in each and every week. And I know people are, again, there's this schism of Bucs fans. One half wants to blame Brady. They see him on the way out. So let's just get back to, the Buccaneers life. It's a Bucs life. Let's get back to that. And then there's the other half that's just frustrated that this team is underperforming and not living up to their potential. And I'm looking at this saying, like, how can you take this team that has the talent that they have and turn them into, just a poor team on every aspect of it? And the defense has been pretty good, but John, I'm sorry, a defense is not a juggernaut. It's not elite if it can't create turnovers. Not in this league, not in this day and age. And the Buccaneers have 1 interception in 7 weeks, and it came on a damn Hail Mary at the end of the second half. So this team does nothing good, but it has all the talent in the world. So to me, that's coaching. That's not, some people want to blame Brady. Some people want to blame this, that, and the other. Oh, injuries, that, injuries. Every team suffers injuries. Every team deals with injuries. I don't want to hear an injury excuse. The problem here, again, is coaching. And once again, this explanation from Todd Bowles, it's not his first gaffe, I guess, up at the podium. This explanation just kind of epitomizes where we see this coaching staff. And they look like they have no clue what they're doing at all.
He talked about and acted like he had a first or second year quarterback that you have to take by their hand and lead them through the process. This is a guy that obviously, look, you could take the headsets off and say, okay, Tom, go get us a field goal. And I think you'd feel pretty good about his chances of doing that. He's only done it, 30, 40 times. I'm not even being hyperbolic. I'm guessing he's done that, like twice a year for 20 years. So do the math. He's done it in Super Bowls. He's done it in playoff games.
He did it 3 weeks ago.
He did 3 weeks ago against the Rams. Right, exactly. So what's the big deal? And you had all your full complement, right? I mean, I know Mike Evans was in a cloud on Sunday, but, he's still capable of making a play. Godwin looked pretty darn good on Sunday, as did Julio Jones. And look, in those moments, Brady could have had the worst game of his life, right?
Yeah.
Which he didn't. I mean, he played pretty well. He's the one quarterback who for 58 minutes could be god-awful, right? And then 2 minutes left, tie game. He just forgets about what happened the previous 58 minutes and goes ahead and wins the game. That's what separated him from just about any other quarterback that you could even try to compare him to. That he puts that in the rearview mirror and then goes forward and wins the game.
I like how Bowles said, well, we didn't get any yards on the first down. Well, that's because you called a damn screen pass that hasn't worked at all.
Right.
The entire season. So we're right back to where we started. It's about coaching. Okay. We talked about this a lot yesterday, but this team, end of the halves, looks just like the team that they have been the last couple years because they implement this up-tempo, hurry-up offense that's primarily run through Brady's arm. Doesn't mean that running isn't involved, and it should be. Running should be involved, and they need to be better at that. But I'm tired of this insistence on playing 1980s football and saying, "Oh, we need to run the ball to set up play action." No, I mean, even when you do run the ball, you don't use play action, and when you do, it's incredibly successful. You know why, John? Because you have the best quarterback ever, and I think that's a pretty fair statement to say, at the play action game, and being able to utilize everything that sprouts and comes off of that. And your utter refusal to use that it's baffling to me. I mean, it's not surprising because again, my view of this coaching staff is in the toilet right now. I mean, I don't think they're capable. They have zero self-awareness. I mean, this goes back to a few weeks ago when we were talking about the just the lack of success running on first down. And when that data was presented to Byron Leftwich, he gave that laugh like, "What are you talking about? That's not even a real." That's what I'm saying, John. This is where we're at with this coaching staff. It's absolutely from the top ends, from the top, top of the totem pole. It's just utter incompetence, and it trickles down.
Also, seems like the Cats are pretty upset too. I mean, they're upset. Your fine feline friends.
Yeah,
who obviously
I wasn't sure.
Tampa Bay fans, right?
I wasn't sure.
I thought I heard one in the background, but I
heard
one of them in the background. Even the Cats are like pissed off about
Yeah,
it.
well,
I'm worried though. I'm a little concerned, Ian. I know because you're in the Tampa area. You're not too far from the Buccaneers headquarters. I just hope you're not, Robert De Niro in the fan and show up at some point, at practice or a game and just jump the fence and steal Byron Leftwich's headset and start calling plays.
Well,
Brady might actually like that.
Better that than falling down in Michael Douglas. So I guess
Yeah, don't go there. That was a little bit more extreme. Yes, that was rough.
Yeah, no, my cat. I wasn't sure if that was going to be able to come over, but I have a very nice microphone here, so it picks up all the extra sounds. And the cat over my left shoulder is apparently probably seeing another cat outside, and that's what's got me getting. I got him a little worked up, or maybe he's pissed off about the coaching staff as well as the Buccaneers. I don't know if he's a Bucs fan. I'm not a Bucs fan. I'm a Brady fan, but still,
I know the feeling. I'm not a Packers fan. I'm a Rodgers fan. So
it's still frustrating.
At this point, it is frustrating. It's the way this season's going. I think I'm all in on the Bengals.
Yeah.
If the Packers get eliminated, I'm going with Joe Cool as my guy to root for.
Well, look, I mean, this should hopefully be a fairly entertaining playoff season, and I hope. The one thing that I'm hoping for, and from a Brady's perspective, of course, obviously my hope is a Patriots Buccaneers Super Bowl, if not a Buccaneers Bills Super Bowl, and I've explained my reasons for that. It's very, very petty and very vindictive, but hey, it is what it is, and I accept that. But we should get a fairly competitive postseason, just given kind of how things are shaping up and how I feel like a lot of these teams are fairly even. The silver lining, I guess, for the Buccaneers again continues to be that they're in the NFC South, and that division is likely theirs to be had, even if they lose a couple more games. But the news on Tristan Wirfs is a lot better than I think people were expecting. That injury was, first of all, it was such a reckless play on the Browns defender. Like, what are you doing? Like, you saw how what play that occurred on, and for those who didn't see it, it was I can't remember who the defender was, but just kind of recklessly jumped in the air. It really didn't need to,
right.
And it just there's nothing he could have done after that fact to not fall and almost really looked like a devastating injury. Right now, it looks like maybe just multiple weeks. So there's a chance, John, that the Buccaneers could get back both Wirfs and Ryan Jensen by the time playoffs roll around. And I think that would be a nice plus for them, certainly on the offensive side of things. But it's hard for me to find much confidence in this team because of who's in charge. And I said it going into this game this week that if they come out and after 2 weeks off and are doing the same things, I'm almost completely, the only thing keeping me invested is the fact that Brady's still involved, because I can't 100% write off a Tom Brady led team, but I'm so close just because I have zero faith and what they can accomplish, because they clearly have no awareness of how to fix the issues that they have, because they feel like just going to the same well over and over again is going to magically change things when it hasn't through the first 12 weeks.
Well, they lost, 5 out of 6, and then they righted the ship, no pun intended, a little bit with that win over the Rams. But why were you struggling against the Rams, who just continually get blown out by, mediocre teams, let alone good teams? And then you go to Germany, and I felt that they had an advantage going to Germany because they're a veteran team. They can handle, kind of the weird week in Germany getting ready against Seattle, who now comes back after a week off and gets lit up by the Raiders for 40 points. So even those wins were like, they should have been more comfortable than they were in beating the Rams and Seattle, two teams that I think are trending in the wrong direction right now. And now you're playing a Cleveland team that was giving up in the high 30s to the likes of the Patriots or the Jets or whoever else they were playing. Miami lit them up for 39 just a couple weeks ago. So everyone was having a party against the Browns defense, and Tampa struggled to score 17, and you lose that game. So even the wins have been less than impressive.
Their strength, the Browns' strength on defense is their defensive front, and so the Buccaneers' strategy was to attack that, not the passing game, because until that drive at the end of the half, I think I saw the graphic pop up. Tom Brady had only thrown the ball 7 times.
Right.
Like that.
Yeah.
That's I don't have an explanation for that, John. I don't. I'm speechless. I'm without speech right now. I don't have any sort of reasonable explanation for that, other than, again, the coaching staff just has absolutely no clue what to do, and no clue.
Like watching a Golden State game, right? And they're down 10, and Steph Curry's attempted 3 shots.
Yeah,
you're like, well, what's going on with that? Why?
Exactly. And so unfortunately, I don't think this is necessarily fixable. I mean, their only hope is to somehow just get hot at the right time. But but that's the thing, John. They've looked really good on offense at times. And then, like I said, they had that drive to go up 17-10, and then they went into their prevent offense for the rest of the game. And it's like, how do you expect to win games in this league and do that? And at this point, that's just, I mean, I don't have a solution to if they were to fire one or both of them. I don't know. I don't think there is. I mean, unless Bruce Arians comes down from upstairs to finish the season. But right now, it's like that might be their only hope, to at least get someone in there that's not going to. And I don't think it's intentional. No, there's no I have no reason to think there's any sort of intention, but in a way, almost sabotage their season. Because that's what's happening. It's not, like I said, it's not about intent. I'm not saying he's, sitting in a dark room at night and, strategizing how he can take down the Buccaneers. I'm talking about Todd Bowles, but his actions are akin to sabotaging the season, because he seems to be doing everything the exact opposite of what he should do. Like he needs to take a page out of George Costanza's book and just do the exact opposite of his instincts.
Yeah. Bizarro world, right? Yeah, absolutely. Why is he even involved in the offense if he is? And I get head coaches get involved. Obviously, that's part of their job. But you would think with Brady, and if Brady has a decent relationship with Leftwich, which I think he does, that they could handle the offense. And then you concentrate on game management, but more so on the defensive side of the ball, and try to make sure that that's buttoned up, and you go from there. I mean, we saw this with Brady for 20 years here in New England, when he had a strong offensive coordinator, which is pretty much every year that he played, whether it was Charlie Weiss, Billy O'Brien, Josh McDaniels, that Belichick kind of looked at it and said, okay, the quarterback and the offensive coordinator, they can handle that side of the ball. Let me go make sure that the defense is buttoned up, special teams, and, we're on our way. And that doesn't seem to happen if Bowles is getting that involved in the offense. Like I said, when the Bucs got the ball back with less than a minute left in regulation with 3 timeouts, I would have taken the headsets off and said, Tom, you've done this a lot more than I have. Go at it, my friend. And he would have taken care of it, because you don't need signals coming from the sideline to get in the way of the best quarterback ever conducting maybe picking up 35, 40 yards to get a game-winning field goal. Like, I think he can handle that.
And again, the idea that, I mean, the very next play, you complete that pass to Julio Jones, and you only have 8 seconds left. Had you called the timeout, had you done anything you're supposed to, you're looking at like potentially 3 plays to gain maybe 10 yards, if that, to get in field goal range, and there you go. game's over. You kick the field goal. Ryan Suckup was a pretty darn good kicker. Kick the field goal, you're in good shape, and that's what I mean by sabotage. Every single decision made, and it's like, let's go back to that. And I've seen replays of it since then, which makes me again question why. I understand it was under 2 minutes, but why not just challenge or call a timeout to open the door for the catch to be reviewed? But that
Right.
Mike Evans throw on the sideline that looked like it actually was a catch, which would have set them up on the 3-yard line.
Yeah.
So again, and that's something where, what are you saving your timeouts for? Like, you can't challenge it. I get it, but you call a timeout. It allows upstairs, because this is on the booth upstairs, and they're certainly capable of saying like, oh, maybe we need to review this and take a closer look because that looked like a catch. So, again, there's just so many things that have gone wrong for this Buccaneers team, and it can all be traced back to coaching. Like, I don't want to hear, again, you call me a Brady honk all you want, and there's some much more rated R versions of that statement that have been called, but call me that all you want. But if you're going to sit here and tell me that, he's been an issue this season, I'm going to tell you to go screw, because clearly he hasn't. And if you're going to look down the line when it comes to issues this Buccaneers team has, he's at the bottom of the list, guys. And trust me, putting Blaine Gabbert in there or having any other quarterback in there, the outcome's probably going to be worse. I mean, this team, and again, it hasn't been all Brady. I think people confuse that, but this team has only they're lucky to have won as many games as they have at this point, because I don't think too many other quarterbacks, if any, are going to have him more than 2 wins at this point, because this is a bad, poorly coached team.
Yeah, I mean, and they've got the Saints this weekend at home, so I don't think you can ever go into a game right now with the Buccaneers and saying, well, that's going to be a layup, right? Because we kind of thought
not at
those
all.
were the case. They were supposed to win easily in Carolina and Pittsburgh, and they lost both of those games to pretty poor teams. So yeah, there's no layups for the Buccaneers, because they're just they're not clicking on all cylinders, to use a cliche. I know it's an old cliche, but it just doesn't look right on the offensive or the defensive side of the ball, and I don't know how it's going to get right, other than the fact that they're playing in that division, and 8-9 probably wins you the division, and then you're home for a playoff game, most likely against Dallas, because they'll be the 4th seed and Dallas would be the highest seeded wild card team. I mean, do you have any faith? As much as we both respect the hell out of Brady, I mean, Dallas's pass rush is elite. Is Tampa Bay going to understand how to deal with Micah Parsons? They couldn't even handle Myles Garrett, who's a great player, but Parsons to me is defensive player of the year caliber. And yeah, I mean, how are they going to deal with that type of defense, let alone, a mediocre defense? So, but again, because Brady's there, there's always that in the back of your mind that he's a tough guy to bet against.
Yeah, and it's true, and that's why I will never officially write them off, because again, I gotta believe maybe in the 11th hour, John, Todd Bowles wakes up and is like, oh my God, I think I've made a terrible mistake. I'm sorry. Do what you got to do. And then again, at that point, it's like, I don't care. If they go on, if they scratch and claw and back their way into the playoff spot, that's all I care about, because hopefully at that point, he'll snap out of his, career-long funk of being a terrible head coach and realize, John, that, there has to be another way. Just like Frank Costanza, okay? When he reached for that doll for George and rained blows upon his competitor, there had to be another way. And thus Festivus was born. So hopefully, I don't know. I wish I could come up with something that rhymes with Festivus in this situation, but hopefully
that's a tough one.
It is. Festivus, Bestivus. I don't know.
Festivus, the rest of us they used in the show, obviously. But I also think sometimes I maybe it's just a big conspiracy theory, but these defensive coaches, like Todd Bowles, these defensive head coaches, which there are fewer and fewer in the league. It seems like every time there's a hire, it's an offensive-minded coach because it's an offensive-minded league. It's almost like they don't respect their own quarterback, right? It's almost like, hey, he's just a quarterback. He's no different than any other quarterback I coached. Well, yeah, he is.
Yeah,
so it's just like, sometimes these coaches just don't want to give in to the player. In the NBA, it's a little bit different. Maybe with the exception of Greg Popovich, most of the coaches understand it's a players' league, and it's like, oh, I got Jason Tatum, or I got Steph Curry, or I got LeBron James, or whoever. Let those guys take care of business because they know what they're doing.
And Joel, it's a Mestivus. I like that. Okay, it is a Mestivus right now. Yeah,
a Mestivus.
Yeah. But that's again, that's coaching malfeasance right there. I mean, that again, it just kind of falls right in line with how we kind of see the incompetence of this coaching staff, and it's just a mess. So the plan wasn't to spend the entire show on this, but clearly I was a little bit riled up. I think Thursday, obviously, we have the Patriots and Bills coming up, and we will talk about the MVP race because I think it is interesting. I do believe that Patrick Mahomes obviously is the front runner, but Jalen Hurts certainly has a case. Tua's making his own case, and Josh Allen is still lurking there in the wings, and there's plenty of time left. So we're going to examine that a bit more on Thursday. But until then, keep an eye out tomorrow for the Full Press NFL podcast, where John and I give our top 5 NFL teams, and we'll see if it varies much from last week. It quite possibly could. So thank you, everyone, for tuning in, and we will talk to you on Thursday, the 30th. Or no, December 1st, folks. It's almost December. Have a good one. We'll talk to you then.